Welcome to Book Club for Movies, everybody, for the week of, oh my gosh, September 26th.
That's right.
That's today. I didn't even have to look up like what day it actually was for this week. I'm Ryan Miller. Gosh, I'm so flustered now.
You can't even handle the day we're recording.
It's been how early is it?
It's barely earlier than we normally would record, which is my favorite part.
No, it's like 11 a.m. and we're all disheveled and half dressed.
I'm not even wearing a shirt. I said, screw it. I don't even care. I still haven't really brushed my hair. You clearly have not either.
That's right. It's Darkman himself, Matt Amberg.
I prefer you refer to me as Dr. Peyton Westlake. Thank you.
It's at the very least a little less offensive in some circles. So I'll take it. This week we are doing Darkman, and this week Matt is doing a synopsis. Not like that's a new thing, but it's always welcomed.
Yeah, it is. And it's something that we do here on Book Club for Movies, where you can watch a movie like we do once a week. And, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Patreon. That's where you give us the dollars, and then we do more of this stuff. It's fun. It allows us to continue it, and we want to keep doing it. So go to the tip jar, throw in $1, maybe 100, whatever. And that's the Ryan Miller promise.
Perfect. Man, I'm going to throw to you for that from now on.
I can do it. It'll never sound the same. It'll never be consistent. I will always forget something.
That's why I'm going, rather than me try and do that purposefully, let's throw it to you where chaos ensues.
I am chaos embodied. It's true.
Excellent.
Look at me. I'm just a little ball of chaos.
It's adorable. Do you have a synopsis? Is this now? I'm starting to doubt it. Actually,
you know what's funny is like this is a movie that I've seen so many times. I can do the synopsis without writing it down, but I did. It's called Darkman, coming at you in an hour and 36 minutes. Written by Sam and Ivan Raimi, Chuck Farrer, and Daniel and Joshua Golden. Directed by Sam Raimi. Starring Liam Neeson, Frances McDormand, Larry Drake, Colin Friels, and Ted Raimi. Lots of Raimi. Mm-hmm. Here is your Book Club for Movies synopsis for The Shadow Darkman. He was beaten, burned, and blown up, but scientist Peyton Westlake will not be so easily dispatched. A case of mistaken identity will lead to the creation of a new superhero, Darkman.
Excellent. Yeah, you've already hit on the first thing I was going to bring up is that when it came to choose what we were going to do this week, listen to last week's show, we had a bit of a list there, or I had a bit of a list. I chose this because it was that movie that I knew you had seen a million times. I also knew it was the movie that nobody would be surprised that we were doing.
I love this also as a lead-in, by the way, to Octoberween.
And that was actually the last thing. I was like, I thought it worked as a pretty good lead-in to Octoberween, which will begin next week and go who knows how long. Oh, actually, we can't really overshoot now that we got November in the wings. Although then maybe November would just bleed into December. So yeah, whatever. There's no rules.
If there's any rules, we'll break them. I'm going to make our dreams come true. We're going to make our dreams come true doing it our way.
Yeah, we have already, arguably. So yes, I thought we would have plenty to say on this without also having to look up too much about it. But I did, in spectacular fashion, look up too much about it. So this is obviously Sam Raimi. This is probably why it's least of all a surprise that we're doing it, because we've had plenty of Sam Raimi discussions, most recently having to do with Doctor Strange. Even though, what is the general consensus on that Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness? Because me and you liked it a fair amount.
Yeah.
But I've seen some issues, or I don't know how it actually did, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, financially, it like everything else,
sure.
it did fine enough to be a profitable thing for them. But it does seem like maybe I feel like at this point in this like phase, that might be the one that people like the most. But that's
okay.
But I feel like that's not saying a ton, because I feel like what other movies have we had in this phase at this point? We've had Thor, which again did financially fine, but has just been panned to left. I mean, people did not like Thor.
Are we in a new phase?
Yeah.
Are we not still? Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
Thor and Doctor Strange. The multiverse phase is like a brand new.
sure. Okay. I guess I was just still counting it with whatever that Spider-Man movie that launched with the fake multiverse
Well, I think
for a
that's
second
still
there.
no. I think that's still part of it. Like that's because that
Okay.
introduces the whole thing, right? I don't.
Anywho, yeah, I guess maybe I'm listening to the wrong podcast. I feel like people have been
okay.
turning on some recent Marvel movies in a way that, I mean, yes, me and you weren't crazy about Love and Thunder, but for all the multiverse things that we maybe admitted were a little flipper, not perfect, we still really liked it and are still enjoying seeing our favorite characters up on the screen. So yeah, I don't know, whatever.
And I think the other thing was that for quite a few people, and I did see this kind of in the horror community, where that the crossover does occur a little bit, where they like the community enjoys some of the Marvel movie type things, but and of course this is just super generalized. I'm not
Right.
But a lot of people were just upset that it felt like they were like it felt like Raimi had he got Disneyfied, and I'm like, yeah.
Okay.
What do you think they're going to do? Like, they let him go pretty far, and when you think about that, like, I'm kind of surprised they still let him go as far as they did, and they're pushing now even more with the reports coming out of Werewolf by Night, which screened at Fantastic Fest. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So the first episode of Werewolf by Night screened at Fantastic Fest and is a full-on black and white. It looks like it was a 40s style TV show, and was pretty violent apparently. But because it's black and white and all that, it's a little easier for them to get across. But in any case,
well, I'm gonna waste a perfectly good segue. But is that a Disney Plus thing that's coming or something?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I had no idea.
Straight up, they're doing Werewolf by Night. And it is, like I said, at least everything they've shown so far is totally that 40s black and white horror movie, like, zoom ins on that type of thing.
So I mean, thank you for bringing it back, because now I won't waste the segue this time. But that was literally at the forefront of Raimi's mind when he was writing Darkman, and I'm unsure about the sequence of events here. I know he tried to do The Shadow first, which you alluded to already, and couldn't secure the rights. So he decided to do his own thing based on a short story. I just am unsure if he wrote that story in response to getting denied The Shadow, or if he already had that story going. But Darkman itself is based on a short story that he wrote with those Universal pictures in mind, those 30s and 40s pictures, which I think he correctly read. I think we miss this sometimes. He correctly read as the monsters being the heroes in those movies, right?
Right.
So he writes this short story in between Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, by the way. He did this. And which kind of makes perfect sense.
Very
if you think about both of those.
Yeah. Yes.
And strangely enough, it's almost the same conversation, because yes, he has the money now from Evil Dead and is going to a studio that, yes, interferes, but gives him probably more money than he's had so far, ever.
Yes, I do think this ends up being his biggest budget to date.
Yeah, totally. And with some of maybe the same criticisms you would give Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and maybe we'll get to that because I think most of it comes at the end. But yeah, it is a studio production. He's not given a blank check, probably less of a blank check than he was given with even Doctor Strange, I would imagine. But as he continues to write, other properties do come to mind. He goes to ex-Navy SEAL Chuck Farrar, you mentioned, to help with the adaptation. He's known for Hard Target and The Jackal. Look at that coming back in less than a week. He writes the first draft. It then goes to Ivan, who, by the way, is a doctor. People might forget.
Dr.
Ivan Raimi, yes. And he does drafts 2, 3, 4. And then the studio brings in Daniel and Joshua Golden, who you also mentioned. And they pretty much do a wrangling of everything that's been done so far. They're like, yeah, we had a script, but we also had these weird little story bits and backgrounds and all this stuff. They kind of bring it together, but also give it back to Raimi, who does draft 6 through 12. So it was worked on a fair amount before it got to its final version, the version that we see, the version that was filmed. And I think I probably came to this, obviously, before knowing any of that, with the idea that if we were to do some sort of a comic book movie retrospective, Darkman would be in the conversation, right?
Sure, of course.
So that's about where I ended with all of this. That's as high-minded as I'm going to get for this show. What history, or again, just ingrained knowledge do you have about Darkman, Matt?
So when I was 10 years old, we were living in California at the time, and my dad was a courier, which I've talked about. He worked for a company called Music Express. And during summer, I would go with him on for the day for work. Just sometimes I'd sit in the car, I do the CB and like talk to dispatch and all the people like at the various movie studios and stuff that he was dropping off letters to. We were all like super jazzed to see a weird little kid that would very inappropriately ask them questions and poke at things and stuff about the movies and whatnot. But was like they all thought it was just super cute that I was tooling around with my dad. So everybody was really nice. And I remember we went to, so we would, because we were driving through LA and Burbank and where all the studios were, if you've ever been to that area, you'll know that the studios, like they paint the posters of like upcoming movies, like huge paintings, not billboards, but they do the paintings like on their building, and it's just like they just do giant paintings of the posters and whatnot.
Yeah, that's always been a little strange to me, actually, that they spend so much money in like actual Hollywood, Burbank, like around the area, like with billboards about movies that are coming out. I'm like, do they not get the same commercial? I don't know. I guess it's worth
insane,
it. It's
right?
Yeah.
So we were driving past, and there was a poster that was all black, and it said, "Who is Darkman?" And I went, "Dad, who is Darkman?" And he went, "I don't know, son. We'll find out." And then shortly after that, we ended up going into one of the studios, and I don't remember which studio put this movie out. Was it Fox?
Universal.
Universal. Okay, so we went into Universal, not Universal Studios, but the studios of Universal, and we had to go upstairs and go into a C-suite executive thing and drop something off, and as we went up there was a giant poster, and it would end up being the poster, the cover for Darkman, and I was like, "Oh, that's Darkman," and I was so like jazzed. I just thought he was because so when I was a kid, my favorite characters, like I loved all those horror. I loved those the Universal monsters. I loved the creature, but I always loved, and I had just an absolute adoration for the Invisible Man. It was and it was the look. It was the bandages and everything, and you just remember. I remember the first time I saw the Invisible Man. And when Claude Rains goes through that moment of mania and he just starts tearing the bandages off, was such an impactful, like amazing moment. And then I see the Darkman, and he's got the cool black coat, and he's got his face. You can see that he's kind of mangled more so than under the mask, but you can't tell exactly what's going on. I was just into it. Yeah. And my dad loved that stuff too. So it was totally one of those. As soon as it came out, we sure enough went and saw it in the theater and loved it. Dad and I really enjoyed it, and when it came out on video, we rented it, and Darkman has been one of those consistent movies for me, for since I was 10, and it really also was my introduction to Liam Neeson. I was.
This is his breakout. Yeah, I looked. I was like, he has a lot of credits, and he has a lot of credits before Darkman, but I can't imagine he was well known before Darkman.
I don't really know. I don't know.
I feel like this did it.
But yeah, also probably my maybe my first introduction to Frances McDormand, but I wouldn't recognize that until so many years later.
Yeah, I totally forgot, and I guess I should say, I'm pretty sure I've seen bits and pieces. Again, it feels like a movie that's just built in somehow,
right?
Maybe because it takes from so much and also so much takes from it. I feel like after the fact, again, it's a proto superhero movie, but I couldn't have told you she was in it amongst other things that I also didn't remember or never knew. I don't know. But yeah.
So this was, for me, it was just I happened to be in the area at the time and was at the right age to be immediately captured by the concept, the title, the look, everything about it. And then seeing the movie, of course, the absolute lunacy of Raimi being on full display here with all of the different, the I will never forget the the bit with the underground in the sewer when he pops Ted's head up and the way it's filmed and the car's going and it's, like, I remember being just so enamored with that. So
peak Raimi, that moment for sure. Yeah, definitely.
But yeah,
maybe the kind of psychotic montages are more Raimi than
so
that
good.
scene, but that is peak Raimi. Yeah, for sure.
So good that when
it's got his brother in it, it's wacky and bloody. Although, do we see the actual decapitation?
No.
Yeah, right.
Like, that's funny. The one of the funny things about this movie too is it is not overly bloody. It's actually fairly benign in that respect. I mean, it's got a little bit of gore to it, but it's mostly his face is like really the goriest part.
It's pretty good. I would point at the studio. They did say that they put some things in Darkman that the studio straight up took out. Well, first of all, they gave him the editor for the film, which did end up leaving due to disagreements. So I don't know if that was a battle won or lost, but in the end, there were some things they wanted in Darkman that didn't end up in it. So,
I would love to see if that stuff still exists. Like,
right.
God, man.
Because they'd put it in now. Like, they'd have Disney would put it in now for that matter. Yeah.
Give me the Raimi cut.
Oh, boy. We could start that hashtag, but nobody would know. Like, there'd be too many things it's referring to. I guess maybe. Raimi, for the most part, I feel like has had... with Spider-Man, I wouldn't say, even though it is Raimi by way of studio, I wouldn't say he was necessarily reined in on that. It still feels like he did exactly what he wanted to do with that.
Yeah, this is definitely more of a case where I want to see like those extended cuts of Army of Darkness and all that. Like, I just want to see all the stuff. Just give me everything.
All the stuff. Yep, there. That's the Raimi cut. All the stuff. Excellent. That's cool. That your story maybe goes even deeper than I expected. So that's actually very cool. Some things that still surprised me about this, and I thought it would be funny after calling this a superhero movie, I don't know how many times, to actually answer the question, is it though? Because
yes,
I don't think it really is. Yeah, it has a ton of the trappings, but to me, it's actually more, and I guess the real question would be, is Phantom of the Opera a superhero film? I'm not even being that flip. I think an argument could be made, but I think that Darkman is actually more of a Phantom of the Opera thing, which is also one of the properties that he said was coming to mind when he actually got into writing the thing, writing the one of those 12 drafts or whatever.
Yeah, that was draft 8.
And I'm not trying to take away from obviously the incredibly poppy nature of this thing. Like,
yes,
it didn't get far from The Shadow. Like, at all, right? Like, there's even a part, I think it's pretty early on, where when he finds out that the fake skin is being, like, it's the light that's the problem, and the line he has is, "What is it about the dark? What secret does it hold?" It's like,
does it hold?
It's 2 steps away from who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men. Like, it's not that far removed. The gas canisters say flammable gas on them. Like, this is the same guy that made the Dr. Octopus bank robbery with the bags of money with dollar signs on them. Like,
to be fair, that is how those bags should be represented in everything.
Oh, love it. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to take away from any aspect of it, but I think certainly if I was given the choice, is this a Phantom of the Opera film or a superhero film, I would choose Phantom of the Opera. It goes so deeply into his psychosis and how that comes out when he tries to reconnect with Frances McDormand. And it just is so not on the nose. He doesn't have a nose. The cloak can be a cape or a cloak, actually. Yeah. Maybe.
Sure. A cloak.
Maybe it's not one or the other.
A cloak
either,
can be a cloak and a cape.
Okay, Freud. I don't even know what I'm getting at necessarily.
I don't
but
either,
I think
because,
if I were to,
because at the end of the day, like you can argue. Oh, so here's where your argument I think falls apart with the is Phantom of the Opera a superhero and why it's not. I mean, you could go with you could still go with that it's a comic book story, but he would definitely not be a superhero. He would be a villain. There's really like, and at best, you can make him potentially an anti-hero, but the Phantom is a tragic character, partially because of what he's driven to, but also because he's also a bad person because he essentially tries to kidnap Christine, kill a bunch of people because he wants her. Darkman, on the other hand, is a scientist who is trying to make a synthetic skin to help people, is then brutally killed because his girlfriend somehow has knowledge of this memorandum, which is the most important memorandum in the history of the city.
And they leave it out all the time. Like, she just sees it out of nowhere, and then again she sees it later at the end. I'm just put it in a file cabinet.
Right. Just, wrap it up in one of those like things that goes into the pneumatic tubes. Like, put it in
or destroy it. I don't know. I'm not a bad guy.
Does the memorandum need to be memorized? Do you like memorandum? I put it in a fire. But at the end of it, like Darkman, he's Peyton Westlake. He's not just like, he's a normal everyday scientist trying to help people who's brutally murdered, but they think, and then comes back and is toyed with by more scientists, having the pain center cut from the nerve is cut from his.
You want the actual science here, Mr. Ivan Raimi?
Yeah, tell me.
I'm guessing this came from
Doctor.
The spinothalamic tract. I don't even know if I'm saying that right.
You are.
But yes, the physical pain is no longer felt at the cost of tactile sensation. The loss of sensory input gives him enhanced strength due to an adrenal overload and keeps his injuries from incapacitating him.
Right, and it also drives him mad. Which, yes. but he is throughout the movie. There is there's the Jekyll and Hyde, which was probably closer to what you should have compared it to, is Jekyll and Hyde superhero story. So now we've got a whole League of Extraordinary Gentlemen conversation.
I'm
happening.
all about this becoming the center of our argument. Yes, but please go ahead.
But again, he, even in his madness, he still tries to maintain some level of who he was. You can't say it's sanity, because I mean that's the opposite, right? But he tries to maintain it, and he knows that he's driven to one thing at this point. He's trying to save I can't remember Frances McDormand's character's name, and also get revenge. Like, his driving point is still revenge.
Julie Hastings is Frances McDormand.
I would say he's far more heroic than the Phantom is, whereas the Phantom, again, not necessarily heroic.
I agree with that, certainly, but I feel like everything you started to say about the Phantom, I could have just transposed over to Darkman at first. Not again. I love that this is what we're going to get held up on, and I know that obviously.
But the Phantom was never a good person. That's the thing.
That's where I think the line would be drawn, right? Because obviously Darkman is more heroic. Yes, obviously I think that, but it's the same thing. They're both kind of anti-heroes. He's not out and out evil, right? It's a tragic story.
That's true. Yes, it is a tragedy. Yeah. This is, and if anything, I would say Darkman is far more tragic than anything Shakespeare could do.
I tell you, I was just unprepared for the level, the amount that took up in the film. I think was just the main thing. The main thing that threw me off of the whole superhero thing, because it contains plenty of pretty darn good action. Like that, the whole sequence at the end where he's hanging by the chopper. Like, there's a lot of
cool, and the scaffolding and everything.
But plenty of it's practical, like including a guy hanging from a helicopter, which I feel like I just don't see anymore.
Unless it's Tom Cruise.
Oh, well.
Or Captain America.
I'm in the middle of, so you kind of turned me on to, which it's very confusing now. I think it used to be called something with Adkins' name in it. this podcast, and now they've changed it to Action for Everyone, so it's kind of weird.
Oh, that's
But-
Vice Victus on Twitter.
Yeah, he was on. I don't know if he's on every episode.
Yeah,
Well,
he's
the way
one
the
of the
feed
hosts.
works. Oh, is he now? Okay.
I think so.
So basically, what I did is go back, and it's I don't know the main guy's name actually. The host for the better part, and Scott Adkins did a greatest action stars ever series of podcasts that I've been listening to. I'm only like one deep. I listened to the Keanu Reeves episode, but they actually have a Tom Cruise episode that I'm not sure how. I mean, I will defer because they would know, especially Adkins, and I know they're pulling from many different areas when they say action film, and I think they're pulling more heavily from American action films. But to put Tom Cruise in the middle of the other people they have, like Jackie Chan and stuff, I'm like, I don't know.
You know, all Tom Cruise does is put stunt people out of work.
Yes. So there, by no stretch of the imagination could this not be called a superhero film. I just think for me, when I watched it, I was like, man, and maybe it was just the fact that it was so unexpected and occupied so much more time than I thought it was going to, or remembered it occupying. It, to me, was more of a melodrama, strangely enough, than anything.
Sure. Like so much of this feels like daytime TV. It's hilarious. Like, I mean,
and they don't shy away from
the
it. Yeah,
plot again, the memorandum concept is so daytime television. It's ridiculous. Like, you practically expect Susan Lucci to show up here and like get her Emmy, you know?
Actually collect her Emmy in the middle of the movie.
Yes.
Now, yeah, I've just watched The Naked Gun also, but okay. Well, that argument's finished. We did it. We came to a conclusion.
Now let's talk about something else about this movie that I want to bring up. I want to talk about and this is probably pretty close to I'm sure what we mentioned earlier where Raimi wanted stuff. I want to talk about the effects for this movie because
please.
Number one, this is a movie that when we talk about stuff like The Shadow, we talk about the 40s. There are a number of scenes here where that Harryhausen stop motion, that kind of, again, that 40s 50s style of transformation, you know, when a hand goes from fully flesh to bone, it's done so beautifully in this movie. I love those sequences when he gets his hands put in the hydraulic acid and stuff, and they're like, they show it going, you know, it is that perfect Sam Raimi style. But I this is a movie where I think it really shines because of the tone of the film, you know, because it is so melodrama, because it is so like yes, this is supposed to be from the 40s. This is one of those movies. So I love that stuff.
Love it. Yeah, absolutely.
And you mentioned earlier, but one of my favorite bits throughout the movie are the sequences where Peyton is going, like, his mania is starting to take over, and he starts to like, and the most perfect sequence, of course, is him finally showing his face, not actual dark. He finally shows back up with Julie and introduces himself as, yes, I'm alive, but I can't stay for very long, because the whole like thing he's working on is this synthetic skin that in the light only lasts for 99 minutes, but in the dark it seems to last much longer. So this is how he ends up portraying other characters, which again is another part of the movie we have to talk about, is other people being Liam Neeson. So good. Yeah,
it's a great concept, honestly. Yeah, I don't know how we haven't talked about that first and foremost, but the idea, in fact, this is maybe the big argument towards my is it a Phantom of the Opera film. It's a superhero film in that it has a brilliant premise with this guy that can kind of be anybody, anywhere. He's also a great impressionist, you know, like he gets the voices down perfectly. So it's, yeah. That's a great idea.
It's so good, but there is this moment where they meet and they're at a fair or, you know, carnival type thing, and he's trying to win her the bear or whatever, and he loses his bloody mind, and it's that the way that they zoom in on him, his hair is a little is kind of disheveled, and it's like the background is swirling and the colors are flashing, and he's like, it is this perfect embodiment of you're being straight up told, oh, he's nuts, he's going absolutely bonkers right now. and it's
Yeah.
so good. It's
great.
so good.
And the only other one I would even compare it to in the film is earlier on, where he's alone and he gets in an argument with the cat in his lab.
Amazing.
puts the thing on his head and does a little dance. Yeah, it's all of those moments are great. They're the most Raimi moments. They're
and that's, I think, the thing that is so great about this movie is, I don't know if Liam Neeson is just doing 100% because it's what he does. I don't know if he fully just got the movie and he was like, oh, I know what this is. I'm going to make this. But Liam Neeson is straight up acting, right? Like, he is at
it's not actual acting and chewing the scenery. It's like chewing the scenery and more chewing the scenery.
Right.
It's nuts. And I can't think of anything he's done ever again like this. Am I forgetting?
No, I mean, I guess the closest you start getting to is when he goes to that straight up action moment of his career, with Taken, but nothing gets as goofy or as
none of it's like poppy really at all.
Right.
Well, not in this way anyways. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't think so. I mean,
yeah, he's all over it. Very big. He's doing all of those, like, you ever seen the SNL skits where Keenan comes out and he's like, do your reactions like this. And,
yeah.
They're all super huge. Yeah, he's doing something like that, akin to that.
And I would be absolutely remiss if I didn't call out Larry Drake, Robert Durand. What a great villain. Like,
iconic, man. Are you kidding?
That guy, the look, the way he talks, and then, of course, the outstanding use of the cigar cutter. Like,
he's great.
The when he has to do the Liam Neeson bit and he's going up to the other gang boss that's like in Chinatown.
Gang boss.
And he goes, gang boss. and he's like, he hasn't spoken, I don't think, yet. And the boss is talking to him and is like, I can't do this, Robert. I'm so sorry. And he pulls out the cigar, cuts it super small, and goes, you'll have my money by the time I finish this cigar. And it's a great moment because it's like he nails the character, right? He's also nailing the whole time aspect of the situation where this mask is going to fail soon. And he also is, I'm having to do this before the real Durant gets here. Just such a great moment, but that Larry Drake puts out there, so freaking good. And then when he has to fight himself, also very good and funny.
Yeah, he barely needs to act, honestly. He is just so iconic looking.
Yeah.
You can tell me later if Dr. Giggles is any good.
It's great.
But I think you bring up another good point. Script, actually, for all the revisions it went through, I think came out pretty darn tight.
I think it's
pretty cool.
A solid script. The dialogue is fairly solid. The story, the core story, it all makes sense. It all flows. Yeah. The movie is remarkably good for being a movie called Darkman that is not meant, like, I don't want to say it's not meant to be good. Every director and every movie that they want it to be good, but this is like way better than you expect it to be.
No, but it's, and I think that's what I mean by poppy or pulpy or B movie. Obviously, this is a big budget B movie. Like Raimi was freaking inspired by the monster movies of the 30s and 40s.
And The Shadow. Like, he was trying to write a Shadow movie, people.
And he did it in spectacular fashion. Yeah, I think that's the thing. And I don't think anybody doesn't get that. I mean, this movie made money off of its budget a bunch. In fact, it got... Tell me if we're to the point yet, because I do want to ask you about the sequels. I only watched one of them.
Darkman, die! I love Die,
yes,
Darkman, Die.
It did garner 2 sequels. I don't think anybody of which we're talking about was involved, but I guess I could be wrong.
Larry Drake does.
That's true.
He
Some
is,
of the actors they
it's
got back
literally
there.
called The Return of Durant.
Right. Which you gotta love. You gotta figure they still understood what they were doing, because at the end of the first movie, Durant dies in a big helicopter explosion. Like, there is no absolute way he's coming back, and apparently he does.
He does.
So that's anything else you want to say about the original Darkman?
I love it more than lots of other things, and I always have. And somebody recently talked to Liam Neeson about it, and he said, I wouldn't be opposed to coming back to that. There's a lot of work we could do there. There's stuff. He is up for it.
Bless him. Bless him.
At this point in his career, like, I desperately want Sam Raimi to write either a requel, a prequel, a sequel. I want Sam Raimi to go back to Darkman with Liam Neeson and just keep doing it like Taken. Let's just do it. Just Taken Darkman. Let's make three of them.
For all of the action in this movie, it's nothing that I feel like Liam Neeson couldn't do in his 60s, right now.
Okay, and here's my favorite part, is that he doesn't even necessarily have to do a lot of it because he's freaking covered up by things.
Yeah, well, and again, I haven't seen, we will get into the sequels now. I haven't seen the second one. I watched the third one. I only had time to watch one, and it was, I don't know what I want to say by all accounts, but by some accounts, the better of the two sequels, and also had Jeff Fahey in it. So I was like, okay, well.
Love Jeff Fahey.
We'll try that one. But tell me about Darkman 2, if you could. I don't know how recently you've seen it.
I haven't seen Darkman 2 for a while.
Okay.
They were good though. Like, they're fine. The thing is, Arnold Vosloo, who better known as the Mummy. So they're fine, but they're not directed by Raimi. They're not written by Raimi. They're basically just, we have this character, we're going to go ahead and throw him into they kind of try to recreate the first movie over and over again.
Man, I've kind of wished that were the case. I'm gathering it might have been a while since you've seen, or at least when you saw Darkman 2 or 3, you weren't watching them necessarily to talk about them all that critically, because Darkman 3, Jeff Fahey is fun to watch. I guess that choice paid off, but man, it's direct to video in every bad sense of the word.
Yes,
and that doesn't disqualify anything for me, but it's kind of a mess.
That's fair.
A bit of a mess.
Yeah, I remember the last time I watched them, I thought they were fine. They're like, oh, it's Darkman. But you don't hear me talk about Darkman 2 or Darkman 3 in the same breath as Darkman.
Not even close.
For a reason.
Yeah. So I guess I don't need to say much more. It's strange because it does, like many movies like this that feel like they didn't go through 12 drafts. There are moments of brilliance, the moments where you would have got back the notes that are like, this is good, build this out. And then eventually, you build out enough of those good moments and you get a good script, hopefully. Because there are some moments like that. Especially, I would call out this very weird kind of love triangle where, because he's impersonating Jeff Fahey, who's a mob boss, he ends up going out with his wife a few times and going even to one of his daughter's plays, which is, yes, Beauty and the Beast. But develops a relationship with her,
once
and
again,
they have kind of this weird
on the nose that has no nose.
But that stuff, actually, I'm like, oh, this gets interesting for a sec. It comes like all at once at the very end, so it's like there's nothing really there. But I'm like, had they worked on that some more, that would have been interesting in the way that the first Darkman was interesting. Again, in a B movie, yes, on the nose type way. But
sure.
Yeah, if you really want to look for good things to say, I guess keep an eye out for that in Darkman 3 and Jeff Fahey. But otherwise, yeah, it's just, man, that is just a hey, just keeps going.
Darkman is a good movie though, the first one.
Darkman is an excellent movie. I would give it over 100 stars. I'm
out of only 80. So it's that good.
It's hard to nail down.
Or it's easy to nail down, and Ryan is reading way too much into things, as he always does.
Oh, by the way, Tony Gardner was the guy on the makeup crew who came up with Stan Winston. Has worked on too many things to even mention. Nightbreed, The Blob, Sleepwalkers. Of course, he went on to Army of Darkness. And Hocus Pocus, not the new one.
No.
The original. Yeah.
Sleepwalkers there's a moment in the movie Sleepwalkers.
Somehow I knew you would have something to say about Sleepwalkers out of all of those.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the dude's name, but I feel like it was the guy who was Lotho in Beetlejuice.
I kind of really want to watch it because I saw that and I was like, Matt's gonna have something to say about this for some reason. So then I watched the trailer and it has the freaking board queen in it. So
Oh
now
yeah,
I
yeah,
just wanna
Alice
see it.
Krieg.
Yeah,
She's
she
amazing.
is
Love her.
great.
She is fantastic. She also great in the Silent Hill movie. Really love her.
Right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it's Glenn Shaddix. So there's this whole bit where essentially the entire movie is like mom and her son are weirdly like incestuous and they're cat people. They turn into like these
Oh, sure.
they
Wait, how are those two things related?
I don't know. They just are. It's part of the
You
movie.
said it like one follows from the other.
Well, because it does.
own a
When you're a
cat,
cat
I don't-
person,
yep. Right.
when you become a cat person, you're just like, hey, what's up, mom?
Spoken like a true dog person.
Yeah, we don't believe in any of that. We're like, you're gross. Your butt smells. Get away. But anyways, there's this one moment. It always stood out to me, and I can't ever help but like I crack up, and it's Glenn Shaddix is like pulls the kid over, like he screams at him or something, and pulls him over on the like into like a wooded area, and is like, I know something's up with you, and I'm gonna get you, and he's like pointing at him. And the kid turns into he has his morphing thing. He turns into the cat person and he grabs his hand and he straight up just pulls the hand off. Like it pops at the wrist like a lizard tail. And it just goes like he pops it off and there's blood everywhere and it goes, "Aah!" And it's so freaking funny to me. And I actually was like, Dad, is that possible? Can you like pull somebody's hand off like that? And I kid you not, my dad was like, I really don't know. I kind of am curious. I feel like I don't think so. I feel like if you had enough force to pull the hand off, you'd probably pull the elbow off or the arm. But like, could you just rip the hand off like
I was
that?
gonna go skin first. Yeah, if you don't break the bone, I feel like you're not getting like there's no way.
Yeah, but it was so like in the movie, in my memory, pop. It's just pop.
Love it.
And there is a moment in this movie also which has cameos by Stephen King, Clive Barker, I think Joe Dante is in there.
Did you catch all the cameos in Darkman, by the way?
Garris, John Landis, Toby Hooper. That's who it was.
Wow, okay, so it has some of the same cameos even.
they just pop up like as morgue attendants or as like ambulance drivers and stuff. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, in Darkman you got Ivan, obviously Raimi.
Yes.
John Landis again, so I guess he's making the rounds.
Always
Jenny Agutter, Neil McDonough, William Lustig, Scott Spiegel, Stuart Cornfield, Professor Toru Tanaka.
That's right. You can't miss him though. He's impossible.
No, you cannot. And of course, freaking Bruce Campbell at the very end. Plays the Darkman disappears into the crowd guy. I thought that was great. I had no idea, no memory of that at all. And when it popped up, I was like, oh hey,
they gotta have Bruce in there somewhere. It's a
and that's why we give Sleepwalkers 83 stars
out of 95 because it doesn't have Bruce Campbell in it.
Oh boy. If you also want to give us stars, you can find us at podcast@bookclubformovies.com or Facebook and Twitter or Patreon. Again, that's going to make all of the difference. All of it.
All of it. The difference will be real.
And I'll tell you what's absolutely different. All of these Halloweeners we're going to do.
It's time.
Yeah. Octoberween is coming up next week. I turn the reins over to Matt. Matt, I have a vague idea of some of the movies we're doing, but I have no idea what's next week.
Yeah, you don't. We are going to start off Halloween this year with a divisive and curious little film that has a ton of interesting background from the director and what the movie stands for and all that. I'm very excited to talk about this because it is not your typical wiener. It's not your typical gory, where things are... No. This is a little different, but it's, I think, going to be an interesting one. And for anybody who's never heard of it, I can't wait to share this one with you. We're all going to the World's Fair as our first film for October.
I've heard of one. We're all going to the World's Fair. Okay.
That's
all
right.
Well,
this is actually, let me see this real quick. Hold on. I want to see if it's streaming anywhere.
let's see if Plex's Discovery feature works all that well.
It actually does work pretty well. And this is We're All Going to the World's Fair is currently streaming on HBO Max, so it is available there. Also, you can rent it on YouTube and Amazon and all that, so it's available.
Yes, according to Plex, HBO Max subscription needed. Rent or buy on Amazon for $13. Rent or buy on Apple TV for $5 or $15. Plus 3 more: Google Play Movies, Redbox, YouTube. Hey, it does actually kind of work. That's why I give Plex 33 stars.
So out of 30.
Okay.
So another thing that I wanted to mention about this movie is if this might pique your interest a little bit. The movie was produced by David Lowery of A Ghost Story and Pete's Dragon fame.
Oh boy, okay.
So he really, really saw something in this movie, and I would say that A Ghost Story, this is kind of maybe a little closer to that in tone. It's not again, not a straight horror movie. This is a it's a drama horror type thing. I can't wait to show you this.
Yeah, no, I will happy
say
that you can explain it and don't want you to at the same time.
I don't want to, but I will say this is likely the only movie of the Wiener group that will be not just a straight horror movie. Everything else we've got is some good stuff.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, come back. Things. For anybody unfamiliar with October Ween, it's the early bad title that we came up with for watching a bunch of Halloween movies. Matt typically chooses them all. He has an incredible track record. I want to say most of the time, one of them usually ends up on my favorite 5 of the year that we do at the end of the year. But also, I'm going to try and make all of my rest of the movie shows Halloween focused, and probably with my wife and daughter, which here's a fun one. Evelyn's been bugging me for probably a whole year now to watch The Conjuring 2 because we watched the first one, and she's like, it was actually, I don't know how much I talked about this actually. I tell you what, we should release the Patreon exclusive we did with Evelyn for the Blair Witch Project 1, but also I should eventually tell the story about how I kind of taught her how to watch horror movies, because she was scared. She didn't want to watch them. You know, she didn't enjoy the tension and nervousness that it was putting her through. And we had a couple of fun conversations about that's the fun, you know, like to scare yourself, to be in that mode for a bit, but also to kind of laugh. Like, you know, when something crazy happens in a horror movie, I feel like me and you are to the point where we kind of laugh in a way that we're like, oh man, that's some good movie making. You know, we're not necessarily sitting there on the edge of our seats or like scared or however that goes. Our hearts might be racing, but when a decision like that comes across, we're like, oh man, that's some good horror. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always look at it from a different, like, very few horror movies, I would say, really hit me in kind of a that way anymore. I mean, yeah, I definitely get caught up in the suspense, but it more often than not, it is like I start thinking about, wow, how did they do that? How did he come up with that idea? How was that effect built out? That's amazing.
How messed up is that guy?
Yeah, no, exactly. What is wrong with you, Ari Aster? I really have questions. The Conjuring 2, though, super great. Yeah, definitely should watch it.
So we'll probably end up talking about that. I don't know. I'm still pre-screening them, so I got to watch them before I show them to my daughter. So it will take some time. But like I said, I'm going to try to have all of my rest of the show ones be October Ween focused as well. Oh, it's all Wieners.
I think that's the one where Valak is introduced.
Okay.
The nun, the evil nun.
Oh boy.
She's great. She's great. And when you the best part of Valak is when you actually do see the character and you catch her. But don't do this beforehand. It's like super important. Don't look up who the actor is after you've seen the character, because you will totally go, shh, that's amazing. Like, yes.
Okay. Charlize Theron.
It's
crazy.
It's not quite that. But it's yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Cool. So come back next week
it's
for
Jack Black.
the very. All right. So come back next week for the very beginning of October. Matt, do you have any other movies you want to talk about for the rest of the show? I kind of did a Darkman 3. I maybe got one more. Oh shoot. We can't talk about that one. That'll be too long of a conversation. So I don't know. I'll figure out one more. Do you have any others you want to talk about?
We got time. What do you got?
Did you watch that Prey?
I sure did watch that Prey.
Yeah. I really like that Prey movie.
That Prey movie is easily the best Predator movie after the first Predator movie.
Right? That's so I've been
Zero
listening
question.
to shows on it because I know we're not going to do a show on it. But that has been, and I haven't seen enough. Like I barely remember Predator 2. I haven't seen any of the like Predators or The Predator. So I certainly am not the one that could say that. But man, it is up there with the first Predator. Very different. But man, Prey is a darn good movie, and it's got me on the we started watching Cloverfield because I want to show them 10 Cloverfield Lane because freaking Trachtenberg, who isn't a multimillionaire for some reason,
Yeah, right.
like every movie he's made is so stinking good.
Oh, also, yeah, you might want to get back onto that Cloverfield one because apparently a straight up finally a sequel involving the monster is coming.
Oh, what a strange new idea they've got there.
Yeah, right. Weird.
Yeah, I won't spoil my thoughts. We're only halfway through Cloverfield anyways. But yeah, Prey, man, I love, it's not completely a one-off, and I bet dollars to donuts the studio made him put that gun in there because it didn't necessarily need it. Like it occupies a pretty central spot in the film that I think is fine, but it didn't need to be the gun from Predator 2 or however that goes. So
right.
That feels a little, but it doesn't matter. That feels like, somebody went to Trachtenberg and was like, you have to do this. And he's like, okay, fine, I'll do it awesomely, idiot. And did that because the rest of the field is just so beautiful, so well, incredibly paced.
It's so freaking
so good.
Amber Midthunder is amazing. Great. She is a freaking star. Dakota Beavers, who is her brother,
so good.
Also amazing.
Because they so like Amber Midthunder's trying to prove herself as a hunter, but her brother is already an awesome hunter and totally brings it. Like all the action in this movie is amazing. It's a little contemporary. I don't think there were a lot of Native Americans doing necessarily, a lot of indigenous peoples doing necessarily what they're doing in that film, but it sure is cool to watch.
Yeah.
It sure is well done.
I don't know, but I really loved the plot, the pacing, the everything about that movie just works. It's really the only reason, like legit, I think the only reason I say the first Predator is the superior film, I think really comes from there is a I think this is just the effect of like the retroactive thing where we already have this great Predator in the first movie, right? That has this crazy technology. And then we've built off of that. And every movie after that that's come out has been after that. So it's always built up to, okay, so now the Predator has a new technology. Those things when you go, okay, now we're going to do the prequel. How do you take the technology that was already so far ahead and make it not like you have to bring it back. You have to make new cool things that for some reason they're not going to use 300 years from now or whatever. Right. And this Predator, I think the guy playing the Predator was great. Like the look and the feel and all that, but it's the one like meh thing I have is that, and it's, universally, I don't know any series that's done this really successfully. I will call it out in every case. Star Wars is a great example. Like the prequels don't in certain respects.
Nope, this is the greatest down.
Yeah,
is it the greatest downfall of those? Okay, I don't know about that, but yes, it's a glaring.
But it's
part of it,
right, sure. And this has that where the Predator feels like for as far along as technologically they are, like, why is this even a thing? Why like, is the Predator we just saw the dumbest Predator on the group? Like you're the biggest baby idiot Predator. Go. Fine.
I think there is an aspect to that. Like the Predator in Prey feels like a young Predator also out to prove himself.
Which I assume is the case, because I mean he is literally dropped off. We see the ship drop him off, and and the ship takes off, and I assume it's just like what they're doing with Amber Midthunder's character, where it's, you have to go when you're ready to do this. You're just gonna go, and you're gonna be left alone in this area, and you have to do it on your own. So that, like, the parallel is there, right? But
yeah.
But it's the again, it's just that retroactive, futuristic, we have to make this stuff exist back then. They have to have, like, I guess what I would have preferred to have seen is maybe some less super technology and more of him fighting hand to hand, which we get a bit of it, but it was still great. It's still great.
I honestly don't have a single complaint as far as that stuff goes. In fact, I think it's a testament to the first film that some of that stuff still holds up. Like there are a few new gadgets in there. There's the thing that contracts so quickly it just severs arms, which she actually uses later. The shield, which I feel like is a new thing, right?
And that's one I really like. I really like the shield. Like, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, but otherwise, he's got the shoulder cannon in there. It's not the railgun.
And that's the one that I wish wasn't there. I kind of wish the shoulder cannon, because, like, okay, actually, I think this is
But it's a projectile one this time. Like, he's shooting little darts that follow a heat
which I
seeker.
did like, but here's what I didn't. Okay, this is my here comes the bugaboo. I guess this is it.
Okay, all right, let's do it. We're gonna spoil this, because no matter what you say, even if it doesn't spoil it, I'm gonna spoil it after. So maybe check out if you're concerned about that.
Yeah. So here's the bugaboo that I have, is that I didn't really even question any of it until we saw the mask. And then that the mask is bone. Why is that? Like, but all of those pieces of technology that he has in the other movies were all controlled through the helmet, like, and on his little on his his power glove. Why did the bone mask doesn't make any sense in that respect?
I mean, it does, if you come from a warrior race, like a trophy hunting warrior race.
But it doesn't make sense that he would have that and it would have technology in it. It's a bone mask, and when they take it off, like, that's the thing. There is no technology in it. It's just a bone mask. Whereas the other masks in every other movie, you can tell it's a space helmet. Like,
yeah.
And so I think that, like, that part doesn't quite track for me. But again, it doesn't matter, because the movie is so friggin' good, and this is just me. Just me nitpicking a little thing that in the moment I didn't think about. Like, I'm not sitting there nitpicking this in the moment. It was afterwards where I went, wait, the bone helmet. How does he, like? Does he?
And
he's
I have,
able
like I
to
said,
change.
zero issues with it.
He's able to change the vision. Does he have all of the heat seeking and all that? That was, again, not through his regular eyes. This isn't a Men in Black situation where he was breathing,
It is not a Men in Black situation. And you're right. None of it matters, because the movie is so well paced and put together.
And the action sequences,
they're great.
Even when you, like, I think what Trachtenberg did nail here, though, is especially is every other movie, you see all of the extras just get, if they're in the way, they're just going to get mowed down, what have you. But I do love that
especially with that one where he, like, decimates the group of people. Like, well, at one point the guys from Ravenous show up, let's say.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. I kept looking for Robert Carlyle. I'm, like, waiting for him to go, okay, Predator, run. And he never does.
Yeah, blow up Jeffrey Jones, but
yeah.
Never.
Doesn't happen. But it is a cool movie, man, and all the fight sequences are cool. And when the moment she figures out, oh, I should tie the rope to my hatchet, and now I have this like martial arts thing that I can swing around, I was like, I don't care. It is the coolest thing in the world. I want Amber Midthunder to fight that dude from Ninja Assassin that had the freaking
what is that
I
called?
can't
The
remember what
flail?
it's
It's
called.
like a kunai with on a chain.
Yes,
or something.
the kuna, yeah, the scorpion.
Anyway.
Thing. Love it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's so much good about it. I don't have even any of the problems you're talking about. If I guess maybe to spoil it again, the very end, and it's not the whole. I've seen some people upset with like they still had to do the cold, like she falls in a mud pit, and they're like, oh, that's where the mud's gonna come from, but she has this medicine that lowers the body temperature. I was like, oh, she's going to eventually use that to lower her body, and that does eventually happen. But it happens in concert with her luring the predator into that mud pit that really spoiling this. But again, doesn't matter.
Super
Watch
great.
the movie.
It's an amazing sequence. Like
immobilizes him. And then she has figured out throughout the course of the movie, because that's the thing, it's portrayed so well about her that she learns. Like we see her learning wordlessly. Of course, it's not like she sees something and she's like, "Oh, now I understand." No, it's like we just the film grammar is so good that we understand and we get what's going on, and that builds to the end where she has set the mask up in a way so that when he fires the projectile, it follows the heat seeking, which is pointed directly at his head because she set it up. The only thing I would have changed, because we get the scene where his helmet comes off, she takes the helmet and she sets it up near the mud pit. We see all of that. I'm like, I didn't need to see hardly any of that. Maybe she takes the helmet. Actually, no, maybe just the helmet falls off and then nothing. Let me be surprised by he fires the thing and, oh, she set up the helmet, which she took later and put here by the mud pit, and it blows him up in the head. That was maybe the only thing where I'm like, man, I needed less. I actually needed, for a movie that does so well with Show Don't Tell, you could have told me even less.
So I think that's a case though also where because you're, number one, you're right. The film grammar in this movie is super high level. Like it's incredible.
They barely need words most of the time.
and almost all of the language is Comanche too. So there's that when the indigenous
if you're
people
watching the Comanche dub, certainly, but no, it's all
but in any case, like I love that we learn about this new predator with her, as opposed to seeing it like we're piecing it together. Like we're piecing it together with her. And I think that scene's important because it shows it's like it is the culmination of her not only
no problem with the scene. Literally just wait.
Yes.
Are you talking about the scene where she places the helmet in the position?
I think that's important for us to follow with her, to keep in her frame of mind, so that we're not like, we shouldn't be surprised at that sequence. He should. We're with her. We're like, and I read it that way. Like,
no. I think we're talking about two different things. You're talking about like he's surprised in the sequence when he gets shot.
Yeah,
no,
because
like that
she
sequence.
set everything up to kill him, right?
Yeah, but I didn't need to see her set the helmet up. Again,
I'm saying I like that because it allows us to stay with her, because otherwise I am now suddenly surprised that just like he is. I don't necessarily think I should be.
Oh, I see. Okay, pretty good.
I want to be in her mindset and knowing, oh, she's setting something up, and having to think about putting it all together, because I didn't put it together until after it happened. I was like, oh, that's what she's doing. The heat seeking thing. Yes.
That's a great point that makes me still think what I think, that I wanted to be in his headspace where his mind is blown when that happens. I would have liked to have also had my mind blown.
All right, Kurt.
Whether go it's nothing we've saying is ruining it. Go watch Prey.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, I, not having any of the knowledge, completely agree. It's unto the original. Yeah, at the very least, it's a different thing. It really is a different thing, because the original is like the purest action movie maybe from the 80s ever, because there's all of that stuff at the beginning about, and yes, it does, especially if you read some of the zeitgeist stuff on what all the masculinity and stuff in that Predator film means. Like, yes, love that stuff, I love that stuff, but honestly none of it has to do, on its face at the very least, with the last half of that movie, maybe the last 30 minutes of that movie, where it's just an action movie. It's just Arnold versus the Predator. Like, who cares about any of the stuff before that?
Oh man,
this is different in that, like, Amber Midthunder's journey does track throughout the whole movie. Like, she's trying to prove herself. Like, she has an issue coming up with her brother, or actually no, her brother does kind of believe in her more than the other guys that are also just crappy guys, like so.
They're just dudes being
There's
guys.
a little bit more of a through line, but yeah, either way. I feel like you were going to say something about the Arnold versus Predator.
Oh,
original thing.
I actually, so I'm kind of in the, it's, for anybody who doesn't know, this month has been a crazy month for me. I'm in the middle of switching jobs, and we're kind of getting in the process of starting to plan our move out of state. So I haven't had quite as much time to sit down and write as I would have liked this month. Again, Captain Excuses over here, but I'm writing something about the Predator movies because of Prey having come out, and now I'm 3 months behind. So it's as
well. Correct me if I'm wrong. You were writing something about the Predator before Prey came out, and then Prey came out and kind of not ate your lunch, but
yeah,
everybody else.
I was walking through it, and then everybody else did come out, and they're way more on top of things. But one of the things that that makes Predator successful is something that I'm going to write about, and why that last little bit between Arnie and the Predator is so effective is 100% because of the opening sequences. And
okay,
and I have an excellent reasoning behind the why, and why that movie is actually the perfect build to what that crescendo ends up being.
Yes, and that's I mean, I don't disagree with that at all.
No, but I have good reasoning that will make you maybe look at it and go, oh yeah, that does make sense.
No. I dig those reads completely. Like I said, it's just that if I were to take the plot on its face,
yes,
none of what happens between the guys in the beginning has anything to do with. Again, on its face, but we all know it has everything to do with. And Matt's going to show us, and I can't wait for it. That'll be cool. What? I'm serious. That's not a joke. Oh. I'm serious.
All right.
I'm so serious.
You sound like a jerk right now.
I got nothing else. Unless you want me to talk about something else. Do you want to talk about anything for the rest of the show?
I have got one I want to talk to you about.
Do it. All right. Live every podcast like it's your last. That's what I say. Who knows when we'll be able to do this again? Might as well get it out.
I mean, that sounds like what my doctor said. In
podcast, as much as was that, did that come up in your post heart surgery appointment? Just get all the podcasts in you can.
Yeah, that's what he said. He was like, I don't know how long you've got, so record as much as you can.
Podcasts, like your life depends on it.
He looked at me and he put his hand on mine and he said, "This is your legacy. Don't."
By the way, big fan. Thank you.
Also, yeah. Also, in 1990, 1990 was a funny year for me. 10 years old, finding movies on the channels of HBO and Cinemax, whatever, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
As somebody who universally loves those slapsticky comedies, there was a movie that came out. There was a glut of films that came out in the mid to late 80s. Through kind of the early 90s that were ski related movies, always taking place up on the mountain, So here's one.
I don't even know which one to choose.
Here's one that I have to recommend to you and to everybody. It's streaming on Amazon. It is called Ski Patrol. I watched this movie about 100 times when I was a young lad. It stars Martin Mull, TK Carter, Leslie Jordan, but maybe my favorite part is actor turned director Paul Feig as one of the main characters, who is the biggest goober in the movie, and it's funny as all hell because there's a dance sequence. Oh boy, is there a dance sequence? George Lopez is in this also randomly.
Wow,
it's and Ray Walston. So. Very weird movie.
More like this, says IMDb. Hot Dog, the movie.
The Hot Dog, the movie is not like this.
Aspen Extreme. Out Cold.
Now, Ski School was pretty close. I did like
Ski School, yeah.
I liked Ski School because that one had Dean Cameron in it, and he was great. We liked Dean Cameron.
One of the classic movie poster types where the crew is viewed beneath the legs of a woman. I feel like there's 30 movie posters like that minimum,
if not more, starting with Porky's or something. But Ski
Meatballs,
Patrol,
I was going to go Meatballs in that one.
Ski Patrol has a character in this movie called Suicide that is maybe one of the greatest characters of all time ever created on film. And I
played by
cannot,
Sean Sullivan, it appears.
I cannot stress this enough. For 1 hour and 31 minutes of your life, this is a movie you absolutely need to watch. Because there's so many questionable things. Maybe one of my favorite gags in the movie is Leslie Jordan, who is a well-known comedian, very short man, not a tall human at all. So all of these people at the ski patrol are like yearly people. They always come back. They all work. So they all know each other year after year. And this guy is the head of the ski patrol. And again, he's, he totally has a Napoleon complex, and they give him pills to make him taller. And he's like, whatever, these aren't going to work. And then he decides to take them, and he gets like wicked drunk one night. And he gets blackout drunk, and then they move all of his stuff and shrink everything so that he thinks he got super tall. And it's the dumbest thing in the world. And you have to watch this movie.
Okay. Yeah, you had me at Ski Hello.
Yeah, Ski
you
Patrol.
Had me at Ski Hello.
Ski Hello Patrol. Yes. Watch this. It's on Amazon. It's rated PG. Parental guidance, because it's that stupid.
Which means nothing for, when did this come out?
1990.
1990, yeah. So I guess that's not true, yeah. This was like 1980 something. I would be like, oh, so PG, so it's at the very least got as much blood as Temple of Doom.
Yes. No, this movie has no blood. No real sexy times. No real anything. The movie is pure idiocy.
Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
You got me.
Yeah, you got to watch it. Ski Patrol.
I bring Prey, you bring Ski Patrol. You've done it again.
I think that this is why people should be on our Patreon.
Yes, good segue. Or
Prey.
Email us at podcast@bookclubformovies.com.
Ski Patrol.
Facebook and Twitter.
Prey.
And Patreon, where you too can, I haven't verified that you can subscribe for $1 if you really don't want to pay that $2 bottom tier, but
Ski Patrol.
I will. Awesome. Come back next week for the first October Wiener of the Caesar with...
I like watching you try to remember a very simple title.
We're all going to the World's Fair. That's not a very simple title.
That's a very simple title.
It's a simple statement, I guess. There's not much happening, but...
We're all going to the World's Fair.
We're all going to the World's Fair. Did I get that? Okay. Well, come back next week for that. And whatever other wieners we have in mind. Thank you all for hanging out. As always, forever, you're the best. And goodbye.